Hey, what's going on internet? Josh Noel from SonduckFilm. In this video, we're going to take a look at the behind the scenes for shooting in RAW. So what is RAW? RAW is a codec like ProRes or H.264, but the thing is RAW is uncompressed, and basically that means you're going to have a lot more data to work with. And when you bring in RAW footage into a program like DaVinci Resolve, you're going to have a lot more data to work with, as in this camera RAW tab right here. So let's go to a clip that we have just brought into DaVinci right here, ungraded, and we go to our camera RAW tab, which is this camera icon in DaVinci Resolve. Underneath the camera RAW menu, we have all these menus that you would not get with a compressed shot like ProRes or H.264, and we're able to change stuff, which we'll take a look at. But with a regular clip, you would have to apply these settings with normal filters, in which we would still do this with the raw clip, but how the math is applied is a lot different. And I'm not going to claim that I know the math and the processing behind this, but when you change the metadata here, you're actually changing the clip as if you actually shot it that way, compared to the math here where you're applying it in post-production. So underneath the camera raw menu, we can change the white balance, the color space, the gamma, and the ISO as if we shot it just like that in camera. So for example, the reason why we would want to change the white balance is if we don't know exactly what the look we're going for. So we'll take a look at the white balance in a second, but let's go here to the color space. So very easily you can shoot in a log format like Blackmagic Design if you shot on a Blackmagic camera, or you can quickly just change it to Rec. 709, which is going to give you this much more contrasted and saturated image. And you can do this with a click of a button as if you shot it this way, instead of actually going into here and increasing contrast and saturation. So that's the upside of shooting in RAW, that it's like you shot it this way. So we can keep this here in Rec. 709, or we even have an extra option here like P3D60. So just extra things to keep in mind. You can always have different options for the gamma. So very interesting, a lot of things to take a look at. From here, let's talk about the ISO. So you can actually change your shot ISO here inside of DaVinci Resolve. So we can change this to 800 ISO if we felt like the shot was underexposed, or we can go to 200 if it was overexposed, or we can kind of just keep it exactly where it was at. So typically you probably won't change this too much, but it might depend. Maybe you make a mistake in your camera or something, like, okay, we underexposed it, we can go up to 800 ISO. So that's always an extra option to kind of keep you safe. Now let's take a quick look at the white balance. So we shot this at 5400K, and we have all these other presets in here. So we can go right down to tungsten if we want to. It's going to change the look, the image completely. And if we go to our custom tab over here, we can make this, say, a little bit warmer. So right now this feels like just a very plain shot, but we can come over here and warm this up a little bit, and even increase the tint or decrease it so we can make this image a little bit more green or magenta. So that's really cool. And also we have the highlights tab, so we can look at the sky back here, and we see that the sky is a little bit washed out. I want to say that's completely blown out because there really is no detail in the sky, but we can bring down these white levels a little bit by going to the highlights here, and we can bring this down. As you can see, the highlights get brought down, and there's a little bit more detail into the sky here, but for the most part that's not exactly, I don't really want to bring the highlights down too much because it does affect some of the highlights in the rest of the image, but for the most part it's affecting the highlights up in the sky, which is really nice. So you can always bring back blown out skies if that's the case. So we even have some extra parameters here, like we can increase the contrast very easily within this menu. We can increase the saturation if we want. Maybe we can go over here to the exposure and bring this up. And maybe we'll actually bring the saturation down. That's a little too much. There we go. And right off the bat, we have a very solid image with a few clicks of a button just in the clip's metadata. So now we can go into our actual correction over here and start doing some extra things. So, that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's take another quick look here. So here's an example of me using the camera metadata for the shot. But let's say if I want to make this shot a little bit warmer, and we can come over here to our nodes, and we can go and add the white balance, manually. So we can go here, maybe play with the lift, gamma, and gain to get a warmer look. And we can even just touch this own personal parameter here, which is the color temperature built into DaVinci Resolve. And I can try to warm this up, and we can get kind of close to where we're at. But the problem with this, we don't have the exact number of the color temperature here. Like adding 2,500 points to it doesn't really give you an indication of what's happening here. And plus, this shot looks ugly with this correction on here. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit nicer. So let's go to the camera raw tab, and let's take a look at the color temperature. So we shot this around 34K. So obviously this is the final graded image with this nice cold look here, but let's say we want to make this a little bit more neutral and we just want to do a click of a button and we want to make sure that's calculated. So what we can do is go to the white balance, go to custom here, and also we can just dial through the presets just to kind of get an idea where everything's at, but we come here to the color temperature and maybe type in 4500. And now this will be at 4500 Kelvin, and this image is a lot more neutral. And now the shot is a lot more, diverse, and it has a lot more uses for maybe another range of videos. Of course, the gun's probably gonna not make it that diverse, but who doesn't want a gun in their video? And also what's nice about having raw capabilities between shots is that if we needed to also change another shot in the sequence to the last shot that we made a little bit, more neutral and warmer, what we can do is easily just type this in here as well, and we know exactly to be 4500, and we're not just, guessing, what the color temperature is manually. We actually have this calculated, and we can keep all of our shots consistent as far as white balance goes, and we know it's going to look fine. So that's also a huge plus to doing this. So a little before and after here. So these two shots, definitely match up, and it makes a lot of sense to do this. So of course, I don't always suggest shooting in RAW. With RAW, it's going to take up a lot more storage, and it's definitely, you're going to need a computer that can process it. And typically, you're going to have to develop proxies, which are going to be lower res files, so just so you can edit with the raw footage. So, there is a downside of shooting RAW. It's definitely not for quick turnaround time projects, corporate videos. And, I would say I only use RAW when I shoot, short films or, commercials that actually need that detail, that have like sequences in it, and I got to make sure everything is matched up, appropriately. So that's the only time I shoot in RAW, when I actually need this metadata. I wouldn't say it's going to make your work much better. Shooting in RAW doesn't give you better quality. It just gives you more data to work with. So that's something you should consider when you're shooting in RAW. So I hope you guys found this video insightful. Let me know in the comments what cameras you shoot with. And in the meantime, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel for more filmmaking videos just like this, and please be sure to hit me up on my social media networks. Those links are in the description of the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope you have a good day.